CTA and CACA and all that, but look, don't mess with the Teamsters. You ever hear of Jimmy Hoffa? And even the Teamsters capitulated because of the power of the Civil Rights Statute, which is wonderful, particularly for people who work for the government, to protect them from the government. So we're really happy about that. And what about, so that's sort of some of the challenges in the workplace. I want to give you another example, though, of an employee who worked actually for in the financial district of San Francisco, the tolerant town of San Francisco. Very tolerant. Well, she was badgered over and over again, and I guess they knew that she was a religious woman, very strong in her convictions, and a real nice person. But anyway, they were just badgering her because they had a good idea that she wasn't going to be voting the way they wanted her to vote on a certain proposition on the ballot. You know what I'm talking about from Prop 8, right? And so they badgered her until finally she came in and she said, well, yes, I'm voting for it because, you know, my beliefs, my convictions, I have to, you know. That week, not several months later, or no, that week, before that week was over, she received a notice of termination for, quote, creating a hostile work environment, end quote, at a tolerant town of San Francisco. Anyway, so we were contacted about it. We do our homework, and we were representing her, and we will represent everyone like her in that situation. I think it's important. Now, what about the schools, public schools? I'll tell you right up front, one of my biggest heroes in California today are public school teachers who stick to what their principles of what it means to teach and respect the rights of parents. I love those teachers. They're the kind of the teachers that I had when I was a kid. But unfortunately, public schools are often not run just by teachers or by parents, but by unions. And they push causes and agendas that often violate the rights of parents. And we at Pacific Justice Institute work hard to hold them accountable when they do these kinds of things. Let me give you a classic example. Recently, a young boy down in San Diego area, actually it's the Grossmont Unified School District. This is one that wasn't in the Bay Area. Usually they're in the Bay Area, by the way, just so you know. But, oh, this is a good post time. How do you like that one? Anyway, you can tell I'm a lawyer, can't you? Anyway, I say lawyer and liar. Anyway, they're so close. Anyway, but let's see, where was it? Oh yeah, talking about the school for kid. Oh yeah. So anyway, this young boy, he was into drugs, into the gangs, and he was in really bad shape, heading in the wrong direction. And some friend of his invited him to a religious retreat for youth and at their church. And he had a life-changing experience, and he was sharing his faith during lunchtime. He was excited about it. His life was turned around. And someone in the administration saw that, and they took him into his office and said, you're not allowed to do this. And in fact, make sure there's a disciplinary, we're putting your disciplinary notice in writing, your disciplinary notice, and in your disciplinary notice it says explicitly, you are not ever allowed to bring your Bible to school ever again. In America. This is the United States, not Castro's Cuba, the United States. And so this young boy, he heard about us and contacted us as parents, and now we're representing him because the superintendent and the administration of that school district refused to change their position. And that's even though they have a school board that is pretty much in line with our perspective. It shows you some of the limitations that even the school boards can have, which is pretty challenging. So we're going to bat for him and kids like him. But it's not just about the public schools, it's also going to bat for homeschoolers. Now, as we all know, homeschoolers are really weird people. No, tease me. Hey, my wife and I homeschooled, that's why I can say that, okay? Otherwise, you know, you can get me. But anyway, so, you know, but homeschooling is booming in California. and it's fantastic. And it's been moving for quite some time, but we've also had a lot of head-to-head confrontation with the CTA. CTA who tries to just do that, typify homeschoolers as weird, crazy people. We need to protect children from them. They're always pushing social workers, CPS, to take children under the guise of educational neglect or abuse. And in fact, we had a case like that in Northern California near the Nevada County, California, Sacramento area, where a homeschooler had a SWAT team, if you will, circle her house, pounding on the door, demanding they get in. She says, what's the problem? They say, truancy. You have your kids there? And she says, no, I'm homeschooling. And here, as I have my certificate, I've been registered, and I'm homeschooling. And they said, no, you open the door. And she says, well, do you have a warrant? They said, yes, we do. I said, so you just slip it under the door. So they do. And she says, well, I'm sorry, it's not signed by a judge. By law, you're required to have it, she knows her stuff. They were angry. They kicked in the door. The kids were traumatized to the max. They clung to their mother while the CPS and the social and the SWAT took away the kids. The mother contacted us. We immediately stepped into action. The kids were returned to the mother, and then we made the case for her case, and needless to say, they apologized, and the mother decided not to press charges or bring a civil action. Now, mind you, I wanted a civil action. I mean, there's just something about lawyers that you just want to go for it, His fangs just start growing, In certain cases, they get bigger and bigger, but anyway. But she said, no, I just want to be left alone, and I think they got the message. I said, yeah, they got the message, but anyway. So we weren't able to address it then. Well, then later on, a few years later, down in the 2nd Appellate District of Los Angeles, it finally came to a head. When 3 appellate district judges in the LA area ruled that homeschooling was illegal if you were not a credentialed teacher. Point blank. We were contacted by the homeschooling program that was challenged, and we represented them. And there's some others representing the mom, another person representing the dad. We represented the homeschooling program itself. And we petitioned for them to rehear the case, and they did. And after they reheard the case, my chief counsel, Kevin Snyder, I called him, and he argued the case, and one of the people argued it, and I said, Kevin, how'd we do? And he said, terrible. He says, we're going to have to argue it on appeal to the state Supreme Court. I said, wait a minute, that's it? He goes, yes, we've lost. I said, wait a minute, how can we've lost? So when I talked to groups, they said, how'd the case go? What do you think? I said, well, based on what the chief counsel says, the only way we're going to win is if there's a divine intervention, so you better start praying. And I said, that's it. That's all I can tell you, because it looks like we had lost. Based on the attitude of the judges and the questions, it was very obvious they were very hard-nosed against our position. And wouldn't you know it, I guess a lot of people pray because they reverse themselves 3-0. 3 men, you know how egotistical men are, okay? Who happen to be attorneys, even more egotistical, who are also judges, appellate judges. I mean, to get an appellate male judge to say that they're wrong, I mean, that's just tough. Any appellate judges here? Probably. They're wonderful people, by the way. One of my best friends is, okay, never mind. So, they went and reversed themselves 3-0 and said, yeah, we were wrong. Homeschooling is legal, and you don't have to be a credentialed teacher. And because of that decision, homeschooling is booming even more in California like it's never has before. And we're really excited about that because, not because I say that everyone should homeschool. I mean, every kid is different. Believe me, just within my own family, my little 6-year-old Amy is very different from my 8-year-old Austin, okay? Those of you who had kids know what I'm talking about, just that alone, girl, boy, But the reality is every parent and family needs the liberty and freedom to decide what's best for their children. And if we don't have that, we don't have freedom. Because then the government's not respecting the rights of parents to raise their children in the way that they see fit, in the way they see is best. Must kids be literate and have an education? Absolutely. That's a basic fundamental for the survival of literacy, the survival of a democratic republic. But without that, that said, parents